There's a moment you don't forget, when the doctor looks you in the eye and says the word cancer. It's not a loud moment. Not dramatic. There's no screaming. No weeping. It's just, quiet. Cold. Like a glass of water tipped over in the middle of dinner. The conversation stops. Everything else disappears. When it happened to us, to her, I remember staring at the clock behind the doctor's head. Watching the second-hand tick past the moment our lives ended and something new began. Her name was Rachel. We'd been married for 6 years at the time. Together for 10. We met working night shift at the same airport. She was TSA, I was a baggage technician. It was the kind of job that burned people out, but somehow, we thrived in it. Found little pockets of joy in cheap coffee, late-night vending machine runs, and slow dances in empty terminals when delays ran into the early hours. She was sarcastic. A little reckless. Smoked too much, laughed too hard, loved like a firestorm. And I loved her for it. God, I lived for it. We got married in a courthouse with 2 friends and a Polaroid camera. Took our honeymoon in a cabin upstate with no Wi-Fi and snow in our boots. It wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. We were happy. At least. I thought we were. It started with stomach pains. She'd had them before, flare-ups she blamed on stress or bad Chinese takeout. But this time, they didn't stop. She started losing weight. Fast. Her skin got pale. She got tired. One night she threw up blood and collapsed on the bathroom floor. I carried her to the ER myself. 3 days later, we got the diagnosis, stage 2 gastric cancer. I don't remember much after that. Just flashes. The beeping of the monitors. The sharp smell of antiseptic. Her hand squeezing mine, hard enough to leave a bruise. And her voice, broken but steady. Don't leave me. I didn't. I stayed through everything. Through the chemo. The hair loss. The nights she screamed from the pain. The weight she lost, not just physical, but emotional. The person she'd been, faded. And still, I was there. Every damn appointment. Every sleepless night. I shaved my head when hers started to fall out. I learned how to hook up her feeding tube. I sold my motorcycle to help pay for the prescriptions insurance wouldn't cover. I stopped living for anything else except keeping her alive. That was the only thing that mattered. And then, she got better. It wasn't fast, but the tide began to turn. The tumor shrank. The vomiting stopped. Her appetite returned. Her smile, once ghostly, started to crack through again. By the following spring, the doctors said the words I'd been praying for. Remission. I broke down in the parking lot. I sobbed into the steering wheel like a man released from prison. I'd thought that moment would be the start of our new life. But it was actually the beginning of the end. Recovery was different. Distant. Rachel wasn't the same, and I tried not to blame her for that. Trauma changes people. I knew that. I figured she needed time. Space. So I gave it. I slept on the couch when she said she needed the bed to herself. I stopped asking why she flinched when I touched her. I ignored the late nights she spent on the back porch, smoking in silence with her phone glowing in the dark. I wanted to believe she was finding her way back to herself. But what I didn't know was this. She wasn't coming back. Because the person she'd been during that fight? The woman I'd held in my arms through hell? Was a lie. One night, about 4 months into her recovery, I came home from work and found her packing a bag. I thought maybe she was having a PTSD episode. That she was triggered, panicked, spiraling. But when I asked where she was going, she didn't look confused or scared. She looked resolved. I'm leaving, she said. I laughed. Thought she was joking. Then she said the words that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I never had cancer. The world stopped. No, really, I think it actually stopped. Time bent in on itself. I looked at her and thought maybe I'd had a stroke. Maybe I was dreaming. But she didn't blink. She just stood there, holding her overnight bag like it was just another Tuesday. You, what? I said. I lied, she whispered. About everything. I never had cancer. Those 4 words dropped like a body on the floor. I stared at her, blinking slowly, the silence stretching so long I could hear the refrigerator humming behind me. She wasn't crying. She wasn't trembling. There wasn't a trace of panic in her eyes, no shame, no grief, no collapse. Just stillness. That was the part that scared me the most. I took a breath. It shook in my chest like broken glass. What the hell are you talking about? I asked. Rachel looked down at the bag in her hand and set it on the couch like she was putting away groceries. I made it up, she said. All of it. I wish I could tell you I reacted like a sane man. That I calmly asked questions. That I was rational, compassionate, patient. I wasn't. I was fire. A trembling, red-hot mess of disbelief, rage, heartbreak, and confusion. You made it up? I repeated, louder. You faked cancer? She flinched at my tone but didn't take it back. I didn't know how else to stop everything, she said. What does that even mean? I didn't know how to leave, she said. Not without burning everything down. Well, congrats, I snapped. Mission accomplished. She started pacing, rubbing her temples like I was the one being unreasonable. Do you remember where we were last year? She asked. Before the diagnosis? Rachel. No, she said, voice sharper now. Do you remember? I stared at her, chest heaving. You were distant, she said. You were working 12-hour days. We hadn't had sex in almost 4 months. I was alone in that house every day, and every time I tried to talk to you, you shut down. We were roommates. Ghosts. I didn't exist to you anymore. I was working to keep us afloat, I said. I was building something for us. You were ignoring me, Caleb. And so you faked cancer? Her face twisted. I didn't plan it. It started small. I said I was having stomach problems. You actually noticed for once. You made me soup. You stayed home. You looked at me. I felt something curdle in my stomach. So you kept going, I said. One symptom at a time. She didn't deny it. The ER visit, I said. You collapsed. You vomited blood. Capsules, she said. There's a type you can buy online. They simulate blood in the mouth. Some actors use them. My hands were trembling. The weight loss? I stopped eating. The chemo. I shaved my head. And the nausea? I made myself sick. Water and hydrogen peroxide. It's awful but, it works. I sat down. I had to. My legs weren't working anymore. I suddenly felt the weight of every day, every moment, every choice I'd made since this began, all of it built on a foundation of nothing. No. Not nothing. A lie. A lie so deep, so twisted, that it rewrote the entire fabric of my life. You let me sell my bike, I whispered. You let me drain my savings. You let me cry in hospital parking lots. You let my mother knit you a chemo cap. Rachel sat down across from me, folding her hands in her lap like she was waiting for the verdict in a trial. I know what I did, she said. And I don't expect forgiveness. Good, I said. Because there's nothing left of me to give it. The next hours blurred. She talked. I didn't. I don't remember much. Just that it felt like my heart was being peeled open with a dull blade. Eventually, she said, I'm staying at my sister's. I'll leave the keys. Then she picked up her bag and walked out the door. No hug. No apology. No drama. Just gone. For a while, I didn't move. I sat in that chair until it got dark, and then darker still. The silence didn't feel like peace. It felt like an echo, like someone had screamed in this house for a full year and now all I could hear was what was left behind. I couldn't sleep that night. Or the next. Or the next. I didn't tell anyone at first. Because how do you say that? How do you explain that your wife faked a terminal illness so convincingly that even her doctors were make-believe? How do you tell people that every late-night tear you cried into her shoulder was scripted? You don't. You drown in it. Quietly. 3 weeks passed. The house was too still. I threw out the medications that weren't real. Found wigs in the closet that still smelled like her shampoo. A plastic bag of fake blood capsules under the bathroom sink. It felt like a museum built on grief. Everywhere I turned, there was a monument to my delusion. Then came the email. Subject line, I owe you the truth. All of it. It was from Rachel. The message was short. Simple. 5 lines. There's more I didn't tell you. About why I did it. I know you won't believe me. But if you want the full truth, meet me at the park. Saturday. Noon. 1 hour. Then I'll disappear forever. I didn't know if I'd go. But a part of me, the part that had slept on hospital floors for her, the part that still remembered her humming in the kitchen at 2 a.m., the part that loved her even now, needed to know. What kind of pain makes a person lie about dying? I showed up. Of course I did. I didn't want to. Hell, every cell in my body screamed don't give her another minute. But when someone tears your world down that completely, some part of you has to know why. Even if it won't fix a damn thing. Even if it breaks you all over again. The park was half empty. Just a couple of joggers, a woman walking a golden retriever, a dad pushing a stroller with a coffee in hand. Everyone living their normal little lives, like I wasn't about to sit across from the woman who had turned mine into a nightmare wearing the costume of a tragedy. Rachel was already there. Same bench as always, the one near the old oak tree. She wore sunglasses and a hoodie, as if trying to be invisible. Like she could still hide from what she'd done. I walked up slowly. No handshake. No greeting. Just sat down, a good 2 feet away, and stared straight ahead. She was the first to speak. Thanks for coming. Get to it, I said. My voice was flat. Cold. Not cruel, just hollowed out. She nodded. Took a breath. Then began. I told you I lied, she said. But I didn't tell you what came before that. She pulled something from her hoodie pocket, a folded piece of paper. A printout. She handed it to me without looking. It was a hospital bill. Dated 3.5 years ago. ER visit, SA intake. Sexual assault. The words froze my blood. I never told you, she said softly. I said I had food poisoning. That I was working late and had to stay with my sister after. But I was attacked. Coming home from my shift. Parking garage. I looked over at her. She wasn't crying. She looked like stone. Like someone who had learned not to cry anymore. I didn't know how to tell you, she continued. I thought you'd look at me differently. Like I was broken. I kept waiting for the right time, but it never came. And then, everything changed. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I flinched every time you touched me. I hated my body. I hated you, sometimes, just because you didn't know. I stared at the paper. It didn't move. Neither did I. She went on. And then I started thinking, maybe if something else was wrong with me, something big, then it would explain why I was unraveling. I thought if I could make the pain visible, maybe I wouldn't feel so empty. So crazy. I couldn't speak. Not because I didn't believe her, but because I did. I remembered those months. The sudden distance. The tension. The way she stopped laughing. How she'd flinch when I walked into a room too quietly. How she drank more. How she disappeared into herself. I thought it was burnout. I thought she was just tired. And I never asked. I thought about therapy, she said. I thought about leaving. But I didn't want to be the broken wife who couldn't handle life anymore. So I gave myself a new story. I finally looked at her. You gave yourself cancer, I said quietly. Her jaw trembled. It was something people understand. Something people rally around. I didn't want pity, Caleb. I wanted permission. Permission to fall apart. To stop pretending. She wiped her nose with her sleeve. And you gave it to me, she said. You gave me everything. Every ounce of yourself. And that made it worse. Because you deserved better. You deserved the truth. And I couldn't even give you that. I wanted to be angry. I was angry. But it was complicated now. It wasn't just manipulation. It wasn't just betrayal. It was trauma weaponized into something unrecognizable. A tragedy folded inside a deception so deep, it had no bottom. So why now? I asked. Why tell me this now, after everything? She looked out at the trees, her voice barely audible. Because I wanted to be someone you could remember without hate. She paused. And because I needed to tell someone what really happened to me. Someone who loved me once. Even if that version of me didn't deserve it. I sat there for a long time, staring out at the kids playing by the pond. My heart felt like it was being wrung dry. I wish you'd told me the truth, I said. I know. I could have helped. She shook her head. I didn't want help. I wanted to disappear. We didn't say much after that. After a while, she stood up. I won't contact you again, she said. I just wanted to give you the real story. I nodded. Not in forgiveness. Just acknowledgement. She started to walk away. Then stopped, turned back. Thank you, she said, for loving me. Even if it wasn't really me. And then she was gone. I sat there for a long time. Long after the wind picked up. Long after the clouds thickened. I held that paper in my hands and thought about how grief comes in layers. How sometimes, the worst part isn't what someone did to you, but the pain they were carrying the whole time, and how little you saw it. I wasn't ready to forgive. But I was finally ready to feel. And that had to be enough. I thought that would be the end. After the park. After the confession. After the truth that landed like a body between us. I thought Rachel would disappear, just like she said she would. And for a while, she did. Weeks passed. Then a month. Then 2. I deleted her number. Packed up the last of her things and mailed them to her sister's address with no return label. I threw out the blankets she used during chemo. Donated the wigs. Cleared the medicine cabinet. I wanted to erase the cancer that never existed. I started therapy. I told my boss the truth, or at least a version of it. Told him Rachel and I were over, and I needed some time to figure out which way was up. He didn't press. Just said, take what you need. Some things don't have instructions. I appreciated that more than I could say. But even with the space, even with therapy, even with the silence, I didn't sleep right. Because now I wasn't just haunted by what she'd done. I was haunted by what she survived. The assault. The pain. The suffocating guilt. And the way she buried it all under the world's most believable lie. I was trying to live with it. I really was. But the past wasn't done with me yet. I got a call on a Thursday afternoon. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. But it left one. I recognized the voice immediately, even though I hadn't heard it in nearly 5 years. Elise. Rachel's old best friend. They were inseparable once, college roommates, co-maids of honor in each other's weddings, joint vacations, all of it. But they'd had a falling out around the time of Rachel's diagnosis. I never knew why. Rachel said Elise had boundary issues. Elise just vanished. Now she was calling me. I listened to the message 3 times. Caleb. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. But I need to tell you something. It's about Rachel. I've kept my mouth shut long enough. Please call me back. It matters. I didn't want to. God, I didn't want to. But something in her voice, the urgency, the way it cracked, felt too real to ignore. I called her back that night. She picked up immediately. Caleb? Yeah. There was a pause. A breath. I'm sorry, she said. I should have said something a long time ago. What is it? It's about the lie, she said. About the cancer. About all of it. My skin went cold. I already know, I said. She told me everything. About the assault. About how she made it all up afterward. I was at the park with her. No, Elise said quietly. You don't know everything. There was a beat. And then she dropped it. She did it before. I blinked. What? She faked cancer before. In college. Senior year. It wasn't full-blown like what you saw, but she told a guy she was seeing that she'd been diagnosed with early-stage cervical cancer. He stayed. Paid her rent. Dropped out of a semester to be with her during treatments. Then she disappeared. Ghosted him. Never even broke up with him. Just vanished. Like she didn't exist. I felt my heart thud in my chest. You're lying, I said. I wish I was, Elise whispered. I begged her to get help after that. Told her she needed therapy, needed to face something dark inside her. But she said it was just a mistake. That she got scared. Then she shut me out. That's why we stopped talking. I was silent. I found out about her doing it again with you, Elise added. When I heard she'd been diagnosed again, I thought maybe it was real this time. I thought maybe karma caught up. But then my cousin, who works in records at the hospital, told me there was no file. Nothing on Rachel Cooper. No diagnosis. No chemo orders. No ER incident. Nothing. I stood up from the couch, suddenly needing to move. You're telling me she has a pattern? I asked. This is a thing she does? Yes, Elise said. It's like an addiction. She needs people to need her. To take care of her. But she only knows how to get that by breaking herself down. And when it gets too real, she burns it all and walks away. I gripped the edge of the kitchen counter until my knuckles turned white. She told me she faked it because of the trauma, I said. I don't doubt the trauma, Elise said gently. I believe she was attacked. I really do. But she's also a person who's built her identity on being the center of someone's grief. If she can't have love, she'll take pity. And when that runs out, she runs. I sat down. Suddenly everything hurt again. The stitches that had barely formed in my chest, ripped open. "She's not well, Caleb," Elise said. "I'm not saying that to excuse her. I'm saying that so you protect yourself. I already cut her off." "Good. Keep it that way." There was a long pause. Then she added, "I just wanted you to know, it wasn't about you. It never was." I hung up the phone and stared into the darkness. Suddenly, even Rachel's trauma didn't feel clean. Was it real? Was it twisted into something convenient? Had she used it to shield herself from accountability? Or was it all just a spinning wheel of pain she didn't know how to stop? I didn't know. I didn't know anything anymore. I didn't sleep that night. But I did write something. A letter I never sent. To her. I wrote. "I don't know who you are. I don't think you do either. But I hope one day you figure it out. Before there's nothing left to burn." I didn't tell anyone about Elise's call. Not my therapist. Not my brother. Not even the one friend who knew everything, the one who came over the night Rachel left and sat with me in silence as I drank too much and tried not to cry. Because I didn't know what to do with it. I'd already built the story in my mind. Rachel was a broken person who made a terrible choice during a traumatic time. A lie born from pain. A wound that bled all over me. But now? Now I had to face the possibility that Rachel wasn't just someone in pain. She was someone who lied as a way of life. That changed everything. I tried to let it go. I told myself I'd heard enough. That I'd already suffered through her betrayal. That dragging her name through my mind one more time would only reopen a wound that was finally beginning to scab over. But the truth is, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Not because I wanted revenge. But because I needed clarity. Closure. I needed to ask her one final question, not about what she did. But about who the hell she really was. It took 3 days before I caved. I drove to her sister's house. The same one I'd dropped off her boxes at. I didn't call ahead. Didn't text. I didn't even know what I would say if she answered the door. But when I pulled up, it wasn't Rachel who opened it. It was her sister, Kara. She looked surprised. Guarded. Maybe even a little afraid. "Caleb." "Hey," I said. My voice was calm, but my stomach was coiled. "Is she here?" I asked. Kara hesitated. Then stepped outside, closing the door behind her. "She left," she said. My heart thudded. "When?" "A couple days ago." No note. No warning. Just, packed up and left. "Did she say where she was going?" Kara shook her head. "She's been like this since we were kids. I thought maybe this time was different. I thought you grounded her." I winced. I thought I did too. Kara crossed her arms. "Did something happen?" she asked. I looked her in the eye. Thought about telling her everything. About the past lie. About Elise. About how this wasn't a one-time implosion, it was a pattern. But I didn't. Because I could see the exhaustion in her face. The same kind I'd seen in the mirror too many mornings. "She's just not who I thought she was," I said. Kara nodded slowly. "No," she said. "She never is." I didn't try to find Rachel again. Not after that. Not because I didn't want to know more, but because I finally understood that I never would. People like Rachel? They don't give you clean endings. They give you chaos, framed like vulnerability. They give you pieces and call it honesty. They burn down your life, then ask you to feel sorry for the ashes. They leave you wrecked, and make you feel like you lit the match. 2 weeks later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Just my name. All caps. Block letters. I knew it was from her the second I saw it. Inside was a small wooden box, wrapped in tissue paper. And a note. No, dear Caleb. No goodbye. Just. You were the only real thing. I'm sorry I broke it. I'm sorry I broke you. Don't try to fix me. You'll drown. Keep the box. You always loved it. I unwrapped it slowly. It was the music box I'd given her for our 3rd anniversary. Hand-carved. A slow, haunting melody when you turned the key. We'd found it in a shop while on a cabin trip upstate. She'd cried when I gave it to her months later. Now it sat in my lap like a tombstone. I turned the key. Let the melody play out. And when it finished, I packed it away in the top of my closet, not to keep it, but to bury it. That night, I sat on the back porch. Same chair. Same drink. But something felt different. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad, either. I was just done. Done trying to understand a mind that didn't want to be understood. Done trying to rewrite the past into something noble. Done waiting for the ending to feel clean. Rachel didn't need me to fix her. She needed me to let her go. And I finally did. I didn't expect peace to come from a gas station on a Tuesday afternoon. I was just filling up. Hadn't slept well the night before. A storm had rolled in around 3 a.m. and the wind rattled the windows hard enough to wake old memories. The kind that ache like phantom limbs. I was standing there, half zoned out, watching numbers climb on the pump screen, when I heard a voice. Caleb? I turned. It took me a second to place her, Jenna. She'd worked the counter at the pharmacy Rachel used to get her fake prescriptions from. We'd made small talk maybe a dozen times over a few years. She was the kind of person who remembered people's names and smiled like it meant something. She still wore her dark hair in a loose braid. Still had that same unbothered, earthy energy. She was holding a gallon of milk and a bag of salt and vinegar chips. She smiled. Didn't expect to see you in this part of town. I moved, I said. About 5 miles west. She nodded. Good. New air helps. It was such a simple statement. But it hit like scripture. We talked for a while, leaning against my truck. She'd heard through the grapevine that Rachel was gone. Small town, things travel. I didn't offer details, and she didn't pry. But when I said, "It's been a rough year," she nodded in that way people do when they've walked through fire too. I lost my mom in January, she said. Cancer. The word landed differently now. Like a ghost. I'm sorry, I said. She was ready, Jenna replied. She knew it was coming. Made peace. Did you? Jenna took a breath. No, she said. But I'm working on it. Before she left, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're not what she did." And then she walked away. Just like that. But those 5 words stuck with me. You're not what she did. It took me a few days to process that moment. To realize how badly I'd needed someone to say it out loud. I'd carried Rachel's lies like they were my own scarlet letter. Embarrassment. Shame. Like I was stupid for believing her. For loving her. For holding her hair over a toilet while she pretended to vomit for my benefit. But I wasn't the one who lied. I was the one who stayed. That counts for something. A week later, I stopped by the pharmacy. It wasn't about Jenna. Not really. It was about facing the place that had become part of the story, one of the many silent witnesses to Rachel's long, elaborate performance. I stood in the cold aisle looking at vitamins for no reason, just trying to breathe in the normalcy. And then there she was. Same braid. Same calm. She smiled. Came for another bag of gas station dinner? Came for something real, I said. She tilted her head. I'd like to take you to coffee, I added. No pressure. No expectations. Just, a conversation that's honest. She didn't hesitate. Yeah, she said. I'd like that. We met at a quiet little cafe tucked behind the courthouse. No one knew us there. No one stared. No one said, "Isn't that the guy whose wife faked cancer?" We talked for 2 hours. Not about the past. Not really. We talked about books. About music. About silence, how it can be both sacred and heavy. She told me her favorite feeling in the world is opening a window in the spring and letting fresh air chase out the dust. I told her mine used to be falling asleep next to someone who felt like home. Used to be, she asked. I shrugged. Still looking for a better one. She smiled. Maybe don't look. Just, stay open. We didn't fall in love that night. This isn't that kind of story. But we did meet again. And again. And again. Sometimes at her place. Sometimes mine. She didn't ask for pieces of me I wasn't ready to give. She just offered stillness. And after everything? That was enough. I never saw Rachel again. Never heard from her. No texts. No calls. No random, happy birthday messages or vague apologies. Just, nothing. And for once, I was grateful for silence. It meant I could start hearing myself again. I keep the music box in a drawer now. Not because I treasure it. But because we don't always get to destroy the things that hurt us. Sometimes we just have to contain them. Let them sit in a box, remembered, but not worshipped. I still go to therapy. Still have dreams about hospital beds that weren't real. Still have days when I wake up feeling like I lived a decade in someone else's story. But I'm not angry anymore. Not bitter. Just, human. And free. Jenna and I. We still talk. Still meet for coffee when the air gets heavy. Still laugh at dumb commercials and argue about whether dogs understand full sentences. We're not writing a new story to replace the last one. We're just living. No performance. No illusions. Just two people who know what it means to be broken. And still show up anyway. The funny thing is, I almost forgot the date. It was only when I saw the Facebook memory, a photo of Rachel and me from 4 years ago, bald and smiling at a remission party that was nothing more than a lie wrapped in a potluck, that it hit me. 3 years. 3 years since she confessed everything. 3 years since I stood in the middle of our living room, holding a life that had never existed. And now? I don't think about her every day. I don't even think about her every week. But when I do, it no longer feels like drowning. I kept the house. It surprised some people. Thought I'd want to burn it down and start over somewhere new. But I didn't. I changed things, sure, repainted the walls, donated the old furniture, replaced the bed. But the bones stayed. Because this house, like me, didn't deserve to be discarded just because someone tried to poison it. It deserved to be reclaimed. Jenna and I still see each other. Not every day. Not in the way people expect when they ask, "So, is it serious?" But she's in my life. Steady. Honest. We go on hikes. We cook together. She leaves books on my porch with sticky notes marking her favorite lines. I fix the latch on her screen door when it squeaks. Sometimes we fall asleep on opposite ends of the couch, a movie we've seen a dozen times playing low in the background, and I look over at her and think. This is what real feels like. Not a performance. Not a high. Not some white-hot spark that blinds you until you can't see the red flags. Just quiet. Warmth. A hand you didn't ask to hold but realize you never want to let go of. I still go to therapy. Probably always will. Because healing isn't a finish line. It's a garden. You pull the weeds. You water what matters. You accept the days when nothing blooms. Some days I still find myself questioning my memory, retracing moments with Rachel and asking, was that real? Was any of it real? And the answer is always the same. My love was. That's the part one get to keep. I've spoken at a couple of group therapy circles now. Not as an expert. Not as a cautionary tale. Just a man who got dragged through someone else's storm and decided to learn how to build shelter afterward. There was a woman once who came up to me after a session. She said, "How do you trust again, after someone weaponizes your kindness?" I told her the truth. You don't. Not right away. But if you don't try again, they win. Sometimes, when I open the top drawer in my closet, I see the edge of the music box Rachel gave back to me. I don't open it anymore. But I don't throw it out either. It's not about her. It's about me. A reminder of what I survived. A relic of the moment I chose to live again. I've come to believe that some people don't lie because they hate you. They lie because they hate themselves. Rachel didn't want to hurt me. But she did. And I let that hurt shape me for a long time. Now I let it inform me, but I don't let it define me. Every spring, I open all the windows. Jenna smiles when she sees me do it. You and your fresh air, she says. And I always reply. Can't heal in stale air.